The factory must grow. What's up, Wiz? Today I want to talk about how I feel about the game one day in. So the beta's been out for around 24 hours by the time you're watching this video, or at least by the time I'm recording it. And I've played for a solid 8 to 10 hours. I feel like I've got further than a lot of other people, at least in the early game I pushed through straight away. And I do love this game. I want to say that, but I also want to say that criticism is needed to make a game better. Okay, so when I do say something is bad, please don't get upset. Please look at it from an unbiased point of view. Okay, so one thing I think this game has been doing great is the factory system. Like, the factory must grow, all right? You keep going, keep going. I have a very, very bare bones setup. I scrapped everything. I made it slightly more put together and not all over the place. Admittedly, it still looks absolutely fucking terrible. Point still stands that, you know, the base building is very good. May not look at my base and see it, but the idea behind the base building and how far this really can go is, from my opinion, what's going to make the game different from anything else. We knew that from the start going in, but once you really get your hands on it, it's a whole different story. And I will say as well, if you look here, you have a skill tree which just goes and goes and goes. And for at least just for a beta, having this much to do, it can look very intimidating. But trust me, it's not really that bad. I was really surprised by how seamless a lot of this is. Now, admittedly, there is a bit of an issue, at least in my eyes, with some of the tutorials. They can be worded a bit funny, and they are restrictive to kind of make you do exactly what the tutorial is asking, which is fine. I just wish they worded it a little better. Like, for those who were watching my stream yesterday, twitch.tv/gacha, I gotta say it at least once, right? For those who watched my stream yesterday, we kind of sat there and stared at, I believe it was this one, the Origo Cross one, into the depot, and using the ARC factory to make automatic production for the buck flower, which is like meds essentially. They word it pretty bad. We sat there for about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to actually finish it, because no one in the chat either knew as much as myself, and as dumb as we looked, it kind of came down to a little bit of a constraint issue because of my impression of already knowing how the machines work. I didn't realize I would actually restrict a feature to them, whereas only on run one recipe, and it's not changeable to use several. Ergo, we spent 20 minutes figuring that out until we actually realized we have to build a second one, which, hey, I'll admit that's on me. I will say, sure, I was dumb, I will give you that, but I still think the be all and end all is they should word the tutorials better, or at least give a bit more freedom, because you can still achieve the same result. Again, it is a bit of a nitpick. And I have been seeing a lot of people also talking about the gacha, which admittedly, I thought was amazing. I thought the gacha was very, very, very good until I realized it had a little bit of a glaring issue. So the glaring issue that I did find was that the once only attempts to guarantee doesn't carry over. So this is static to each banner and resets to 120. Each time a banner is reset, this goes back. So let's say I never pulled on Leviathan, okay? Again, the pity doesn't carry over, nor does the guarantee. So if we get, for example, a rerun of Mostima or whatever, just any new character you could think of, the next banner across, this resets and everything I have built up to this point is gone. Is completely gone. What I would like to see them change is, sure, the 50-50, some people hate it, some people like it, that's whatever. But what I would like to see them change is adding in a carryover. The moment they add a carryover, this becomes much better and arguably becomes the best gacha system in the game. Because I thought it was the best until I realized there wasn't actually a carryover and it resets every single banner, which I think, hey, let's be honest, that is kind of fucking crazy in this day and age. In 2025, that makes no sense. And as you can see here, just to confirm it, this headhunting banner has a 120 attempt guarantee to give a featured up 6-star operator, which in this case is Sucha Leviathan. And this guarantee can only trigger once and will be reset when the headhunting banner expires, which is fine because the whaling in this game does make the character that much more insane. So like a pot 6 or a pot 5, like potential 5, like 5 copies in the main character, 6 copies in total, is better than a potential 0, 1 single copy character. But I don't think it's by that much, at least from what I can feel. Or the guarantee will not carry over to subsequent headhunting banners. That's a problem. I've seen a lot of people trying to defend this, and at the end of the day, it is a company that does need to make money at the end of the day. I get that. But people who are comparing this to Reverse or comparing this to Arknights, Space Arknights, I should say, and as a lane, you need to understand this game costs way, way more. It's not going to have rates like those games, and you're dumb if you think that. It's a basic overhead business 101 structure where, because this game costs millions and millions and millions of more dollars than the other games, it's not going to be able to reflect those kinds of pity. But in the same vein, I think they're going a bit too hard by having no guarantees. And I trust Hypergriff. They have been a company who have tended to listen in the past, and they do adjust things willingly. Like they did add a dodge system into the combat, which wasn't in the tech test, and they have done a few other things to try and make it a bit more seamless. But that does also bring me into my next complaint. So, my next complaint in this game is that the combat is great. I don't have complaints in the structure of the combat and how it works at its core. I think it's fine. It's more strategy based. It's not so much like hack and slash like Genshin, Wuwa, timing based or anything like that. But my complaint that I do have is the dodging. The dodging is terrible. Let me find a fight, because the way this dodging works is, if you can see, when you hit dodge, you only have 2 bars there, right here. You only have 2 bars. And if the bar is not full, you can't hit it again. See, I'm spamming it now. It has to be at least half. And that's just scratching the surface. So let me get into a fight here, okay? So the way it directly works in combat is when you see a ping, you need to hit dodge essentially perfect timing. There's not really much window, if any, when actually attacking. And I don't really have too much of a complaint with that. But it's also that when you get this red ping, if I can pull it up before they die, it's, thank you, yep, awesome, we're level 20 and 40 in a goddamn zone of 7s. If they attack, you see a ping like that, and you have to dodge. I'm hitting it. But what I'm noticing is when there is more than one red ping at the same time, if there's so much as a quarter of a second off from each other, it's outright undodgeable. You get instantly hit, whether you like it or not, because you iframed the first hit, but the second hit doesn't carry over. It doesn't give you a benefit or a reward to actually surviving or timing the dodge. In AoE systems, this dodge mechanic is terrible, okay? There is no disputing that. Ooh, essence. More essence, we take those. And what it needs instead is either a bigger window, or you don't get a stamina drain when you get the dodge. Also inherently, that on top of that, you probably need just dodging to be more consistent. It feels like sometimes if you do hit the dodge correctly, you still get punished. Like you did see in that first fight. With the double hits at once, it can kind of cause a little bit of a jank between the two when they're like not exactly pinging at the same time, at least from the enemy perspective. And it just does feel inconsistent. Now, another issue with the combat, which I don't think is a big one, is probably the way the skill point system works. I think the skill point system is great, but I think we either need 4 skill points, or you can go into combat with 3 skill points. What level is this? Is this 35 or something dumb? 15. We can try this. So you can see, open up, off rip, we have 2 skill points. And then once you get rid of them, you need to spam. And the more you get final hits, the more you delete and kill enemies, they do regen. So in a fight of like 3 enemies, we kind of regened 1 skill point, and that was it. Now, in most situations, not really a problem. But when you get to boss fights, skill points don't really exist. Alright, let's just be honest with ourselves. Skill points in a format that you get more back the more you play and the more enemies you kill is great in AoE, and there's several enemies on the field. But in single target boss fights or overworld combat or anything like that, where there's not more than 5 on the field at a time, it's kind of a problem because you can't get them back efficient. I would say the best way you could probably fix something like this is either by adding 4 skill points, as I said before, running into the fight with 3. And hey, even when you run 4 skill points, take down the damage of the overall skills to even it out. Just make it feel more flowier. Make it feel more combat-y. Even if they want to go for a strategy approach, it would be friendlier to newer players, as well as people who want to play it for kind of like a hack and slash side of things. They can pseudo do that by just brute forcing and understanding how to recharge your things quicker, instead of kind of analytically deciding where to carefully choose your skill points. Which, let's say endgame, you could probably do that anyway. It's not really going to cut something out of the game. If anything, it's going to make it more user-friendly. But either that, or make them regen a bit quicker, so there is a, there's less downtime, there's more chances to also intercept enemies, because some enemies have a big circle that pops up around them, okay? And this circle can actually be parried, but you need skill points to do the parry. So, you see what I'm saying? If you're running out of all your skill points, and you can't actually hit the parry because you're out of skill points, then you just got to tank the shot, because the shot is also undodgeable. Those are my complaints with the combat, but in general, I think the combat is still very, very good. I think the way the characters feel in the combat is good. All I ask for is a little bit more skill point regen, and or 3 when going into a fight, and or 4 skill points in general. But as for the actual feel, I enjoy it. I love the fuck out of it. All right, let's not lie to ourselves. It is very, very enjoyable, at least for those who are able to play the game. And as I said, I'm only 1 day into the beta. 10 hours, if you could even say that. Maybe when you get further into the game, you get more opportunities to get dodges. That's just the only stamina bar that has 2. Maybe that does change, but I still think at its core, dodging feels inconsistent, and I'm not the only person who's predicting this. I know most creators and most players in general are also kind of saying the same thing, and I don't believe it's a doom and gloom for the game. I just think it's something they can work on. But the saving grace of this game is the base system. This shit is so fun, and I cannot wait to max out this beta as much as possible. And for those also who don't know, this beta, give or take, it looks to be a month long, about 4 weeks. We've got a lot of content and a lot of grinding to do, so this game feels crazy polished, at least for my computer as well, which is another question. Oh, really, another thing I should say. It feels very stable. I don't feel many optimization issues, but with that being said, I am running a very high rig PC, so I might just be lucky or fortunate with the fact that I do have a higher end computer. But it does feel optimized. It does feel pretty polished. I don't know how the hell it's going to run on the phone. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it in the next beta, which will probably be in like 2-3 months. But yeah, I think the saving grace of this game is truly going to be the base system. I'm going to be trying to figure out to min-max this, make it insane, satisfactory levels of insanity. Because look, all we've got right now is literally just building into building gear, right? That is all I've built for this side of things. And also, if you do look further around, I do have some automation stations set up. Like you can see over here, I have some automatic wireless transfer rigs for this stuff. So for those who don't know, you can essentially have every overworld farming, like Genshin mint picking, automated. And that is what makes this game glorious, okay? The ability to do something like this, and I believe when you're offline, it does run as well. So it runs on server time. You don't have to be logged in for this to be efficient, because there's no way I have 7,000 Endfield store if I am actually, you know, if I am actually logged into the game for that long. And then not to mention, I have the Emphas fibers, and we've got 3,000 components that we've been building overnight. So I'm pretty sure it all runs offline, which is fucking amazing. So the factory is kind of the glowing thing that they have done perfect. I haven't found like it's too complicated. I have found it's only fun, and I'm not really getting, you know, overstimulated or concerned or worried I'm going to not catch up, because although I have had issues with a couple of the tutorials kind of being a bit weird in their wording, it's fine. We still figure it out. It's just, you know, they need to streamline the way to get the message across, I think. And it could be a translation issue, it could be a whole bunch of things, but it's almost a non-complaint. They have absolutely killed this base building. Not to mention, I can also put like, you know, I can also put turrets up. It's very seamless. It's very easy to build. If I really want this turret set up and ready to go, all I go to is this. Bang. I've got the setup. It's automatically connected. This thing is charged. Anything that comes in this area is going to get shot. It's that easy. That took 2 seconds to do. And the more you get used to it, the better it goes, the better it goes. And it gets more efficient. The more you make it efficient, the better your bases are. Not to mention, this isn't the only base that you will have in the end game. There will be several on the map, so you can kind of go a bit crazy with it, at least from my understanding. And I am really excited to see how this goes. So my closing notes are, this game is special. The opening to this game is the best 10 minutes I played of a gacha game, period. I didn't know what was going on. Shit was exploding. There was a whole goddamn cemetery that came in out of nowhere. And at least from what I've known from the story's pretty good so far. You don't need to play base Arknights to get it. And I think that's also a huge saving grace, so it doesn't scare off new players. Sure, it has a couple issues with combat that can be tweaked for sure, but at least for the base building side of things, they have crushed it. The music is great too. It's Arknights. We all know they're a borderline music company at this point. Okay, let's not fucking talk shit. And yeah, I think the game's got great potential. It, in my opinion, if it releases with these fixes I mentioned in mind, could be the game of the year in terms of the gacha space. It is so fun. If you don't like one aspect of the game, you will love another. Don't like the combat, you love base building. Don't like base building, you like the combat. If you don't like hack and slash, it's strategy. If they fix the combat and you don't like strategy, you can pseudo hack and slash your way through. Enemies feel like they do hit, but also that comes part and parcel with the dodging being a little bit scuffed. So it's hard to say how good the enemies really are in terms of like difficulty speaking, but it still feels like I'm not really hitting training dummies a little bit, which is good. We do take that, we do appreciate that. And also, boys, if you are watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe, of course. And by the time I've uploaded this video, I'm probably live playing the game. So either watch it on YouTube where I'm live, which is where you're watching this video, crazy, or go across to Twitch where I'm also live. We are grinding this game, and any questions you may have, I will be sure to answer them for you, okay? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. We're spamming uploads, by the way. Endfield is so goddamn fun. Bye-bye now.